As I was driving away, I thought, weird, I didn't see or hear her friend. I pulled over. I realized that in that instant, nowhere I was going and nothing I was doing was more important than verifying the safety and well-being of my child. I started to turn around. You know that gut feeling you get sometimes when something is just off? Well, today we're reading Reddit stories from parents who had that feeling and were right. I was watching TV late at night and the whole house was asleep. I had this overwhelming panic, like I started sobbing, and I was so panicked and I knew something was wrong. I took off out of bed and into my daughter's room. My 5-year-old had gotten out of her bed and into the 1-year-old's mini crib and was dead asleep across her face, suffocating her. There was no noise, not a sound or a peep. It was just a feeling. Absolutely no joke, this intuition thing. That is so scary. What happened to the baby though? Someone says, did your 1-year-old survive? And then the person says, yes. Oh, thank goodness. I should probably have mentioned that. My bad. I'm glad she at least replied to this one. Everyone was fine. Baby was thrashing around but couldn't get free, and 5-year-old was sleeping soundly. I just lifted her off and baby started wailing and she was fine after a few minutes, and I moved her crib into my room until I changed around the sleeping arrangements. My 5-year-old had started sleepwalking, but it didn't occur that she could climb into the crib during a sleepwalk session. Usually she just came into my room and babbled and went back to bed. Not quite the same, but when my son was a newborn, we had his crib right next to our bed, and our dog would sleep on our bed with us. One night I was mostly asleep and I felt the dog across my legs and she was shaking and whining, so I look up and realize she's got her head somewhat in the crib. I look in the crib and my son is on his belly face down in a way that he 100% would not have been able to breathe. There were so many ways that the dog could have gone to the crib, but I believe she purposely laid on me so that I'd wake up. This dog is a lifesaver. I was dropping my daughter off at a playdate this morning and was in a major rush. I was called into the office unexpectedly and I was running late to drop my younger son too off with my parents, who were in turn running late for wherever they were going with him. My daughter 7 had a playdate scheduled with a school friend. I got to the playdate with tunnel vision of safety, handing her off and getting back on the road in under 2 minutes. I pulled right up to the front of the house and my daughter got out curbside and walked up to the door. Wasn't more than 10 steps between my car and their door. She rang the doorbell. Dad answered and waved. Immediately, something about him just felt weird. I don't know what exactly there was. No, that particular thing is odd. I could have articulated. It was just a feeling. But I was in a rush, so shook it off and waved, said, I'll pick her up at 12. He said, sure. Great, I drove off. I thought again about how the guy seemed weird, but I admonished myself for having some sort of internalized bias against men watching kids and kept going. As I was driving away, I thought, weird, I didn't see or hear her friend. I pulled over. I realized that in that instant, nowhere I was going and nothing I was doing was more important than verifying the safety and well-being of my child. I started to turn around. I thought, won't it be awkward or won't I seem rude checking up on them like that? But again, I realized that was a trivial concern in comparison. Especially consider I must have dropped her at 100 playdates in her life and I never felt anything like this. I sped back and I unbuckled my son and knocked on the door. No answer. I pounded on the door. Finally, the dad answered the door. Now, seeing him closer up, I realized something. This was not the man I'd seen her friend's mom with at school functions. This is like a movie. He said, hi, everything okay, but was blocking the doorway as he did. I barged right past and said, who are you? He explained he was her friend's uncle watching the kids today. I said her parents hadn't mentioned any uncle and asked where my daughter was and started calling her name. I found her alone in the living room with a bunch of costumes and toys and books, but alone. I asked where the friend was, and the uncle said she'd had trouble getting down last night and was asleep. I asked why no one mentioned that, but as the words were coming out of my mouth, I realized the answer didn't matter. I just had to leave. I scooped her up and we left and drove right home. I canceled all my other appointments. I asked her what happened after she got there, and thankfully nothing, but the uncle had suggested she play dress up, which honestly freaks me all the way out. How old was she? 7? Thankfully this was probably nothing, but on the off chance it wasn't, I'm so glad I turned around and got my baby. Anyways, people, learn from my dumb, stupid, incredible mistakes. Always go into the Playdate house to make sure everything's okay. Always trust your gut, no matter politeness or social convention or anything else in the way. My kids are still pretty young for dropping them off at Playdates, but in the future, I'll be careful. This goes off in a bit of a tangent, but it's about listening to your kid's gut feeling. I'm a solo parent to a 6-year-old boy. About 2 months ago, I met a guy who was a customer where I work. He was in several times and we talked a lot each time he was in. Eventually, he asked if I'd like to go out. I talked to my son and asked how he felt about it because I have not dated anyone his whole life, so this was all new. Oh, they sound so tight, the mom and the son. My son asked if he could meet the guy before you leave the house with a stranger. Her son is only 6, right? I spoke with the guy and he agreed to meet my son and I for ice cream. It seemed to go well enough, and I asked my son what he thought while we drove home. He said he didn't want me to go out with the guy, that he didn't have a good feeling about him. I figured we could talk about it and he'd come around. I was wrong. My son begged me not to go out with this guy. I was disappointed but told the guy I just wasn't up for dating right now and that my son was my priority. He took it well and said if I ever changed my mind to call him. Fast forward to yesterday when I saw the guy's picture in the paper because he was arrested for felony battery domestic violence. The moral of the story is listen to your kids. Their feelings are very valid and deserve consideration no matter what age they are. Well, I mean, there are comments about like she shouldn't have introduced someone she doesn't know well to her son, but I mean, I don't think we need to attack this original poster. Like, even though I understand, I wish there were less negative replies and a bit more supportive comments. Someone says, yes, I agree. Trusting your children's gut feelings is very important. It strengthens their ability to listen to their feelings, instincts, and builds trust that they matter to you and you trust they are able to make good decisions and use good judgment. Glad you listened. Well done. I won't comment on whether it was good to introduce your son to this man because I don't know all the circumstances and you are a parent. I'm sure like the rest of us, you're doing your best to make the decisions that are best for you and your son. And it is clear that you endeavor to put his needs above your own. See, that comment is nice, not attacking. And we really don't know what people are going through. Thank you so much for watching till the very end. I love you all so much and see you in the next video. Goodbye.